talk about justice, particularly in the Ghanaian context, should be important to all of us. We all know that justice is part of our national motto. Our national motto is freedom and justice, and perhaps it is a testimony to our commitment to justice, not only as a national goal, but also as a vision and also as an inspiration. Again, our own national pledge talks about we defending the cause of freedom and justice. And our own constitution makes multiple references to justice. We can talk about Article 19, Article 35, Article 37, and particularly Article 125, where it talks about justice emanating from the people of Ghana. But our constitution does not subscribe to any particular theory of justice. Does not subscribe to any particular theory of justice. Now, as Abdul said, there are different conceptions of justice, right from the ancient Greeks. They tend to look at justice as a virtue of the soul, and injustice as its polar opposite. They saw justice as goodness and virtue in action. And we refer to other forms of justice, such as Rawls's conception of justice, justice as fairness. We can also talk about Kant's categorical imperative, and many other notions of justice. But as I said, our constitution, even though it appears to have a social democratic base, they are not subscribed to any particular conception of justice, and by reason of that, any theory or idea of justice that can have practical value in terms of promoting the love of Ghanaians, for me, it's a form of justice that we should seriously look at. Now, let me attempt to look at our criminal justice process, some of the issues that we have in the criminal justice process, and why the talk about restorative justice may be one way to address all the challenges we have in the criminal justice process. Now, traditionally, justice has tended to have particular focus and salience in respect of the criminal justice system. And this is not surprising because in countries with a common law legal tradition, liberty and justice are often interlinked. We are interested in the liberty of the individual as well as his property or her property. Now, traditionally, the way of the common law tradition has dealt with issues of criminal law is to look at it in terms of spheres of autonomy. Right? The criminal law is an aspect of public law. It is not interested particularly in private rights. So because of that, the concern has basically been two. Looking at the interests of the state and then looking at the interests of the criminal defendant, the accused person. So traditionally, and this is the situation in Ghana, we have never paid particular attention to the interest of the victim to a crime. The focus has largely been on the interest of the state in ensuring that the accused person or criminal defendant is punished for his crime, and also the accused person or criminal defendant ensuring that his liberty or rights are protected in the course of a criminal trial. In this framework, the victim of a crime is only a witness, and in Ghana, this is likely the case. When you are a victim of a crime, you are essentially a witness. You are a witness to the state. You are not a party to the proceedings. So unless where the court makes provision for your interest to be taken into account, we don't take the interest of the victim into account. And the thinking was that because criminal law is public law, you, the victim of the crime, you could have a residual cause of action. Nothing prevents you from bringing about a civil claim. Right? So it could be a claim for a civil claim for wrongful death, it could be a claim for trespass to the person, and so on and so on. So you are catered for within the legal system, but not within the framework of the criminal law. Now, this has been the traditional approach as far as criminal law, the criminal justice process, and the interest of the victim is concerned. Over time, it was felt that there was a need to also address the interests of the victim. So we started making some provisions, a very minimal provision for the interests of victims. So when you take our Criminal Procedure Act, for example, we introduced sometime in the 60s provisions that relate to restitution. Now, these provisions apply in the context of property offenses. So when you are a victim of a property offense, the court may make a restitution order that the property that has been retrieved should be given back to you. Or sometimes some compensatory orders will be made in your favor. And we have got a number of provisions in Act 30 that deals with that section 147, section 147 A and B, and so on and so forth. Now, currently, Ghana's criminal justice system, based upon this traditional framework of looking at justice, is faced with a number of problems. If I do not be an exaggeration to say that our criminal justice system is in a crisis, just like for many other countries. And the symptoms of these crises are not far-fetched. We have issues of huge backlog of cases. We have insufficient infrastructure for the administration of justice. We have overcrowded and congested prisons. We have issues of recidivism, the same persons committing crimes over and over again. And these challenges have affected the efficiency of the criminal justice system. So it is necessary that in light of these challenges, we begin to reimagine how the criminal justice system would look like, and particularly what are some of the instruments that will be used in the criminal justice system, perhaps need to be retooled or refashioned to see if we could get better outcomes from the criminal justice process. And it's within this context that I think the restorative justice movement comes in handy. As I indicated, restorative justice is not only an intellectual discipline, it's also a social movement, because we have quite a number of scholars and practitioners who are advocating some of the ideas of restorative justice in terms of its ability to be able to address some of the concerns that we have in the criminal justice system. Now, I find particularly useful a definition of restorative justice given by John Brewitt, which I think captures some of the key claims of restorative justice. Now, this is how he puts it. Now, for John, restorative justice is a process, and that is important. It's a process in which all the stakeholders affected by an injustice have the opportunity to discuss the consequences of the injustice and what might be done to put them right. Now, this is a process conception of restorative justice by which what is to be restored is left open. Rather, the form of restoration of victims, of offenders, of communities that count are those found to be important in such a restorative justice process. Now, beyond the process conception, there is also values conception and then value conception of restorative justice. Then the reason is that hurt tends to beget hurt, creating a vicious spiral of retribution and feuding. Alternatively, it is possible to flip this dynamic into one of healing begetting healing. That is a virtuous cycle. Now, if you try to unpack what John is saying, he's basically saying that in the restorative justice process, we are interested in a certain kind of dialogue or communication among the key stakeholders. The community affected, as Professor Uzi said, the community affected by a crime, the victim, as well as the offender. And the aim is to bring about a healing, to try, and it's an attempt to undo the harm that has been caused to all the stakeholders through a process of dialoguing, a process of communication, a process of healing. And how do you do it? Now, you do it by creating safe spaces for dialogue and communication about injustice, hoping that through this process, you are going to have forgiveness, mending, healing, healing, and all other positive things that come about with a certain collaborative, consultative approach to solving problems.